from Mexico City. Today we are talking all about how our perception of Mexico has changed, and more specifically, our perception of Mexico City.
Our thoughts, perceptions, and attitude towards Mexico has completely changed.
Yeah.
And by completely changed, we mean from essentially since before we moved to Mexico to where we are sitting now. So we'll see if we can make this story short and concise. So before we ever moved to Mexico, which was, we moved to Mexico in August of 2016, what were our thoughts, perceptions of Mexico?
I think, obviously living in the United States and even more so Texas, the only news we ever saw about Mexico and still see today in that area is negative. That said, I don't think Greg and I in particular had any real thoughts or feelings about Mexico. We had no idea what this country is about.
Yeah.
Same that we do with Russia or Costa Rica, any other country in the world other than the United States, we knew little to absolutely nothing about.
Right, I knew that I wanted to visit Mexico City because Southwest had just begun to fly here, and I was curious about Mexico, but I think unfortunately that was about it. That perception or lack of awareness, I think, had really laid the foundation for what we were doing now, creating these videos, showing the world Mexico, showing other Greg and Hillary's, other Goyos and Huertas out there in the world, that just showing people like what Mexico is. But more specifically, we want to talk about how our perceptions have changed about Mexico and about Mexico City since living here. Before we visited Mexico City, which was maybe about 9 months after living in Vallarta, give or take, I'm not sure on the timeline, maybe fewer. What were our perceptions of Mexico City before coming here? Because I think that's really what I wanted to focus on was Mexico City for this.
The only big city I'd ever been to is New York City. And so in my mind, I just basically pictured New York City just crowded, but I really didn't know much about Mexico City.
I don't think we knew much, but I think if we told like taxi drivers, or I still think we mostly only knew the negative parts about Mexico City. The traffic,
what not to do,
there's so many people, maybe what not to do, maybe the pollution or the smog. So I think we're similar to like Mexico as a whole. We'd only been exposed to the negative side of Mexico City, but I will say that was from other Mexicans, like that we were hearing this from. If we were talking to a taxi driver in Vallarta, it was mostly like, oh, like, I don't know, it's too busy, or be careful, whatever it was. Not letting anybody tell us where to or not to go, we decided to come to Mexico City in March of 2017, despite everybody in Vallarta saying maybe it wasn't a good idea, and our minds were blown.
They really were. Like I said, we had really no idea what to expect, but I think the sheer volume of people was shocking. I think it puts Times Square in New York City seemed like a village. Mexico
City is so special to us, and I said it the other day because it was the first place that really opened our eyes to that diversity of Mexico, not only within the entire country, but even within one city like Mexico City. And then we went back to Vallarta. We were only here for 3 or 4 days. We went back to Vallarta, and we eventually decided to do what no one in the right mind would do, and that is move from the beach of Vallarta to Chilangolandia. And I mean, everybody called us crazy, but I wouldn't take it back in a heartbeat. I think the moral of the story here for us is that just to go explore things, even if you hadn't thought about going there before. I had never thought about going to Mexico before, and then the next thing I know, we're moving to Mexico. And next thing I know, I'm in love with Mexico. All that stems from just doing more, from being
Open to new experiences, I think.
Exactly. Hashtag WUP for whatever.
That's a hashtag?
No, that's my Miller Lite commercial
WUP for
slogan.
whatever?
Up for whatever. Up for whatever. No, but just being willing to explore, even if people are telling you, well, maybe you shouldn't go there, or
you won't like
you're
it.
crazy for moving from Vallarta to there. And like, we get it, we are, and we have a lot of great opportunities in our life, and we've made a lot of great opportunities in our life, but I think
you're still a little crazy.
That's how our perception of it has changed. I feel like it has evolved a ton.
It has.
It will continue to evolve. We will continue.
Yeah, I was going to say it is still evolving. I think even when we lived here in Mexico City, we didn't quite understand Chilangos, but now that we're back for our first visit since we've been here, I sort of get it. I sort of feel a sense of like pride to have even spent a teeny tiny sliver of our lives here.
Exactly.
And I get why Chilangos are the way we are.
I like that. But now, enough talking. We're gonna go find some gomitas because, well, that's one thing I miss about Mexico City. I know you can find them in Querétaro and all across Mexico, but
not the same.
It's just a nostalgia thing.
No, these have to be like soaked in Mexico City air.
Let's go. We walked through this section of the park and never found gomitas. Sad day. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, click the bell to get notified.
Every time.
And we'll see you
Mañana
from
Mexico.
I really don't know where. Usually when we say that, I have an idea. I know.
And it's like a fun surprise.
But I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know.